unit, I can't, is unit 3.7, and it's about,
Who
come on,
wants
do
to
it,
the
come on,
exam?
do it.
Go.
I'm listening.
Is unit 3.7 about civil rights and liberties,
Oh my
okay?
god, we did sync up today.
Yeah, so, do you like my flowers?
Yeah, because it's women's history month.
I actually really like this slide.
Because it's women's history month. Thanks.
Girl,
No.
did this skip something?
No, it's just a really bad
I
transition.
hate these transitions.
Where
And I
are you finding
pick
these
these.
slides?
Alright, rights
Okay.
and liberties.
So,
I know
the
this.
note here, knowing the difference between these is not very important for the COCO exam because they're usually, you can usually use them interchangeably, but it is, you should still know it in case they ask you to define it. And so the key here is understanding that they're both expected in democracies. You're expected to have both rights and, are you making a unit circle?
Yes, I'm making a unit circle.
Okay. Okay, they're both rights and liberties are expected by citizens in democracies, which we're about to see. So a right is available to all, granted by the government, and promotes equality. I don't know what else to explain here. So do you have any questions about that definition?
Actually wrong. Is that what they
I
told you?
literally copied and
Is
pasted
that what
this.
they told you?
Yeah. Okay, there's different
Tell
standards.
me what liberty is, because I need to know.
Let's see.
A liberty is a basic freedom that doesn't come
Okay.
from the government.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
No, you're fine.
Okay, so a right, so the biggest thing here, right comes from the government, a liberty does not come from the government.
Bam.
Okay. So, and the key here is would a right exist without other people around? And I'll explain what that means here. So,
Okay.
so the examples of liberty are speech, association, assembly, and belief. So, actually, that's
yeah.
not very good key
They are.
that I gave.
The-
So,
The best way to describe them is a liberty is that the government cannot infringe upon, but a right is something the government does for you so that you have more equality and more.
yeah. So, yeah. So, liberty here, so this is pretty black and white. You either have free speech or you don't, kind of. But, with rights, there's, a little bit, there's more nuances. There we go.
Oh, I didn't like that.
I like that.
Ooh, I clocked you. Okay.
Oh.
So the examples of rights are the right to a free trial, equality under the law, education, and elections. So, the government doesn't have to give you an education, but they do. You want to know why? Because it means you like them more. It's just like middle
Well,
school.
it's supposed to be.
Okay, elections, same thing. Equality under the law, same thing. Right to a fair trial. Stay with me now. Same thing. Okay, liberties, freedom of speech, association, assembly, and belief. If they didn't do this, you'd be pretty, if the government didn't make you go to school, you wouldn't be that upset about it. But if the government took away your right to free speech, then you'd be pretty pissed about it. So, these, yeah, I don't, yeah. Yeah, girl.
Yeah, girl. Tell them.
Oh no.
Oh, okay, so then,
No, not this
okay,
again.
so then my video started talking about Freedom House. Literally just talking about Freedom House, so I just copied and pasted my old Freedom House slide. So Freedom House measures the freedom of a nation's people. Higher measurement is good. There's 3 not free countries, 2 partially frees, and 1 free.
It's always the same.
Yeah. So we come back to internet freedom here. I'm not gonna read all that because I already lectured over it. So
Go back into the
China is the lowest here, which
No.
we're gonna come back to. It means they're the best at it. And then Iran, and then Russia,
No, I thought you said the
and then
highest score
Nigeria,
was the best.
Mexico, UK. I know. High score is the best. Okay, they're the best.
Oh.
They're the best at censoring their people.
Oh, okay. I was like,
Yeah.
no.
Yes!
So yeah. So as you can see, these are all the authoritarian regimes, which is there was a reason for that.
I
Okay.
remember this.
Me too.
Okay, so then I literally had a separate video about the media for this. So the media is super important for all regimes. So both types of regimes have to decide how much they want to restrict the media so they can maintain order and protect individuals. And this protect individuals here, in democratic regimes, basically only applies if it's life and death. So if people are going to die because of what's being said in the media, that's when they step in. Yeah.
That's scary.
And then maintaining order, self-explanatory. So, I know we're not supposed to talk about the United States, but I think it helps you understand more what's going on here when they say maintain order. So, there is a court case in the United States of New York Times versus United States, where the New York Times published, I think it was almost 2,000 pages long.
Yeah.
The Department of Defense had a 2,000-page long document about what was going on in the Vietnam War. And so the New York Times published it because they were like, well, citizens have a right to know. But the Department of Defense sued them because
Yeah.
anyone in the world could access this report on the Department of Defense's, like, what they're doing in Vietnam.
Yeah.
And so they got sued, and the New York Times lost because the government said that the Department of Defense has to have the right to protect, all of these things that have to do with national security.
Yeah.
And that still even goes back to, like, Schenck versus the United States. And this doesn't have to do with the media necessarily, but it's another example of, like, restricting.
You can't yell fire in the theater.
Yeah. And that one's kind of BS. Like, I'm not going to lie. Like, Mr. Miller thinks it's BS, so I think it's BS.
Mostly, like, the New York Times one, too, is also because, like, it would cause, like, unnecessary fear
Yeah.
in people as well. So that's mostly what they're... That's kind of
Yeah.
like the clauses that they put it under, but I don't know if that's...
Yeah, so Schenck in the United States was when this guy was standing outside a draft office in World War One.
Don't
And
sign
was-
up! Don't
Yeah,
do
he was
it!
telling people not to sign up for the draft. And he got arrested, and he appealed his conviction, but the Supreme Court upheld it because the government has to be able to hold the draft, and in doing so, he's threatening national security by telling people not to join the
And in
draft.
the time of war, the government has strict
Has the right to
regulations
hold a
on
draft.
everything.
Yeah. Okay, so in democratic regimes, they, with everything, allow a much higher degree of freedom with regards to the media, but there are still restrictions and laws about privacy. That's a big one, and libel, which is when you slander someone. So, like, if I, like, the New York Times
Libel
can't...
is the media version, is like the written version of slander. Slander is the spoken version of libel.
Yeah.
Sorry. AP Gov. I'm AP
I was
Gov.
like, what? So, like, for example, the New York Times can't post an article that's just complete bullshit about Donald Trump. Like,
Sorry.
in theory, with an asterisk on it. But I'm not going to get into that. And the media is expected to be a check on the government. So this is probably the most important bullet point out of all of these, is that the media is a part of checks and balances. In authoritarian regimes, the media is tightly regulated. They allow for few sources of independent media. Okay. But there is state-run media. So what comes with state-run media is that what's being published, while it might look like what's actually going on, the state still has some control over what's being published. So they're able to manipulate what citizens are seeing. And so this goes back to agents of socialization. So the media is one agent of socialization because it's one way that citizens acquire their political beliefs. Their stance on the government comes from what's going on around them. And one way that they learn about that is through the media. And so not only is the state controlling the media, they're controlling this very important agent of socialization. And the media is used as a tool for control. And there's increasing, in authoritarian regimes at large, there's increasing control over the internet and social media, which leads us into this next slide. So Freedom House also ranks just Russia and China on their restriction of the internet. So Russia is essentially trying to do what China is doing, but they're not very good at it because they haven't been doing it for as long and they don't dedicate the same amount of resources to doing it. So what do I have here? Basically that. So Russia's just not as good at it. China is like the best example for internet restriction. There's this, Mr. Malt told the story on the first day. There was this kid who went to China for the summer and he couldn't do any of his A-Push summer work because he was in China the whole summer and he couldn't access the A-Push summer work from China because of the Great Firewall, as it's called.
Jerry?
No.
Oh.
Racist.
Oh.
No, he was in China.
Oh. Okay. Well, anywho.
I swear.
Anywho, the Chinese are really good at this because they dedicate a lot of resources to building the Great Firewall. There are ways around it that people have found and exploited, but like the Great Firewall is still like being built per se. Like they're still adding to it to make it harder to get around it. And like around the clock, 24/7, they're like searching the internet for stuff to take down and censor because like
Actually,
That
wild.
Yeah.
is crazy. They so determined.
around the clock.
Around the clock.
Okay. I don't even know what this is. This was in the FRQ video. I don't know what this has to do with FRQs, but read the thing and then we'll talk about it. Conditions for internet users in China continue to deteriorate. This comes from Freedom House, BT Dubs. Conditions for internet users in China continue to deteriorate, confirming the country's status as the world's worst abuser of internet freedoms for the fourth consecutive year. The level of internet freedom in China also reached its lowest point since the inception of the Freedom on the Net report a decade ago. Censorship and surveillance were pushed to unprecedented extremes as the government enhanced its information controls, including in the lead up to the 30th anniversary of the Tiananmen Square massacre. We should probably talk about that at some point. The Tiananmen Square massacre and a response to persistent anti-government protests in Hong Kong. The growing crackdown affects tens of millions of internet and mobile phone users, resulting in heightened self-censorship and reduction in space for online mobilization. Chinese citizens' risk of being detained or imprisoned for accessing or sharing information online has increased considerably over the past several years. Rapid advances in surveillance technology and greater police access to user data have helped facilitate the rise in arrests and prosecutions.
So is this what they would like give you before an FRQ? Like, is this what they tell you?
I don't know.
Because if they would, then
Maybe.
that makes it really easy. Because it gives you all the
It literally
examples
gives you
that
everything.
need.
So
Yeah.
here, rapid advances in surveillance technology. Fun fact, China has cameras everywhere,
Oh yeah.
and they're like watching these cameras 24/7.
That's
Like
so
in
crazy.
1984, where they have like the
Yes.
telescreens,
They
like
do.
seriously,
Yes.
like they are seriously watching their
That's
citizens
what 1984
24/7.
is based upon, was China, I'm pretty sure.
Was
Or
it?
the Soviet Union.
I
don't
thought it
know.
was,
I think
like-
it was the Soviet Union, actually.
Yeah.
Or
Okay.
Plasma of China, though.
The trick.
Okay.
Sample answer.
Media freedom is decreasing in China. The source says China also reached its lowest point since Freedom on the Net report a decade ago. But you could seriously use any sentence from this, and you would be fine.
So that's like
I
another
might
free
have another
point.
one.
Hello?
That's literally free.
Okay. So
Oh.
source. Okay, I have another thing here.
Oh.
Yeah. So source analysis. There are 5 steps to source analysis. Or there are 5 questions to source analysis. What's the source? Who's the author? When's it from? What's the author's claim? What evidence
Wait,
supports the claim?
genuinely? Like, is that what the
No.
result will be?
I don't think so.
Okay.
You don't have to know this. I think this is like if you figure these out, it makes it easier to answer.
Oh,
I
okay.
gotcha.
I was like, if those are the questions.
Just to give you
that's
like more
fire.
context to make you think
Okay.
about it.
So I'm not gonna read all this.
Alright.
That's okay.
We're just gonna look at the answers.
Not a worry.
So the source here is Freedom House, and it says
Yeah.
right here. There isn't really an author, so that doesn't apply. What's the author's claim? The Russian state is trying to increase control over the people, limiting civil liberties, but it's limited in its ability to do so. So, like, yet thus far the effort has been hit or miss, pointing to the state's fundamental inability to fulfill its ambitions of seamlessly controlling the information space. Like, there you go. That's the second bullet point. And the first one, I mean, it's a paragraph about Russia. Like, what do you think it's going to be about? Like, I mean, stereotype, but...
No.
Okay, what evidence supports this claim? I mean, if you read that, you'd be able to see them all. If you want to actually practice, you should go back in and, like, tie all these together, but I don't think you need to do it. And I don't want to. So, yeah.
Wow.
Girl.
Girl, it's time for 3.8.
Yeah.